Session with our guest here at the dais. Let me introduce you first. He is our guest on the left is Mr. Jacob Varghese, who has made the film Ayushman. He is the director of the film Ayushman, and it's a documentary made over 6 years. It took 6 years in the making. He traveled 5 continents for this, and it's associated with the uncertainties associated with the disease HIV, and it's about a story of 2 14-year-old HIV positive underprivileged kids from rural India. One is abandoned at birth while the other is fighting to overcome his fears of future. Motivated by running, they steer through all the social stigma and discrimination that exists to create awareness and bring a positive change across the globe. So this is a brief synopsis of Ayushman. Our second guest is Shri Shekhar Bapu Rankambe. He is the director of the film Rekha. So we'll hear more about his experience while filming the movie. A brief synopsis of Rekha. Rekha lives on the roadside suffering from a fungal skin infection. The doctor recommends her to take a bath and apply medicine, but her husband stops her and ill-treats her. So it's about the underprivileged people whom we think that they are dirty, but why they are dirty. He goes beyond the appearance and tries to explain in his film what is the reason. So now we start with you, Mr. Varghese. First, please tell us about your experience about your film.
Good morning, everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank NFDC and IFFI for inviting this film. You can say that there are not many platforms where these kind of films are shown, so I'm really grateful and happy. So this is a documentary about these 2 kids born HIV. Pretty much they're like most of them are abandoned at birth because nobody wants that whole stigma to continue with their family, associated families and things like that. So these kids are growing up mostly in orphanages. So the story is about these 2 kids I found. One is Babu and one is Manik. So they took up a liking towards running. So long distance running. So they do 10 kilometers and later on they have graduated to doing half marathons, which is 21 kilometers. So this sports has helped as a medium for them to, help them in confidence building, their stamina, overcome the disease. And it's been a great inspiration. And in the process of making the film, I too was inspired by the sheer motivation and the never give up attitude towards life. So we started off as a small film, and then even I wanted to, as we started filming, even I was very curious to know where they head, as in how far they can go. So I continued, and it's been about 6 years I followed them and did this film. Even now they continue to run. They also are life coaches, and they teach the other kids in the orphanage. We have still young kids coming into these orphanages, so they are now motivators, you can say. So that's the life. Yeah.
On the stage we are joined by Mr. Jaideep Mukherjee, who is the director of the film Other Ray, Art of Satyajit Ray. As we all know, this IFFI, we have a special section on Satyajit Ray, and his movie was screened yesterday. Since he has to catch a flight, so I would like first to invite him to tell us himself about the film and his journey.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good morning, everybody. My film is a documentary film, but it is not a biographical documentary on Satyajit Ray. Okay. Okay. It's not a biographical documentary because when I conceptualized this idea long before, what I thought that there were a number of films, documentaries were made on biographical on biography on Satyajit Ray, Shyam Benegal ji, Gautam Ghosh ji, or there were a number of great filmmakers already done, and Utpalendu Chakraborty. So there is a background of making this documentary. I made several documentaries for my last 35 years journey of film, based in Calcutta, and there were 3 stages I crossed briefly during the course of making this film. Number 1, in 1990, when I made a documentary on Gaganendranath Tagore. He was a great painter of Indian most pioneer of modern Indian painting. He was from Tagore family, Gaganendranath, and it was in the Indian Panorama in Chennai in 1990. And at that time I was a very young, around 26, 27 years of age. I met Mr. Satyajit Ray at his house in 1990, and I saw, I just gave him the synopsis, put him a request if he could kindly see the film on Gaganendranath, and he was very, he acclaimed that concept, because actually Satyajit Babu was a very, he had a very close link with Shantiniketan, Tagore's ideas and ideals, and later on I requested him if I could make a film documentary on the other way, because we all know mostly about his films, his cinematic journey over the years, from beginning from Pother Panchali down to Aguntuk, but he was a multifaceted artist in all the spheres of artistic expression. So I requested if he had any objection, if he could give me a permission to make this film. He said, "Oh, no, there were a lot of films were made on me." I said, I was very young and I was very afraid in front of that great giant. So I requested him, "Sir, please, my film will be different from others." So he gave me his consent, and but at that time it did not happen, because at that time we were very, very struggling filmmakers, and we had to arrange celluloid raw footage. It was a high cost, so no sponsor was agreed at that time, and unfortunately died in 1992. And then in 2007 there was an exhibition on Satyajit Ray's artworks in Birla Academy in Calcutta, arranged by Babuda, Sandip Ray, his son. He was a great director also, and I shot all the paintings Satyajit Babu made on the even he took some brilliant photographs. I could not use those photographs because my subject was not in relation to that subject. But he took a photograph of Ingmar Bergman sitting at the Cannes Film Festival, and taken by Satyajit Ray. It was brilliant. So at that time also, in 2007, it did not happen. At that time I was making a documentary on Pother Panchali, a living resonance. It was for Ministry of External Affairs in 2007. And I met Sir Richard Attenborough in Surrey, and along with Derek Malcolm, the great Guardian journalist, film critic, and there were several friends of Satyajit Ray in London, and I was very much inspired. I conveyed my intention of making such a film on Satyajit Ray, and they were they totally inspired me that, okay, is it okay? And now, thirdly, on the centenary year last year, I approached Ministry of Culture if I could make my dream fulfilled, and thus the film happened. This is the background story of this particular film. Number 2. May I complete? Number 2 is that because I want to finish off because I have to rush to airport.
No, take your time.
Okay. So number 2 is that while great film personalities had great memories, great childhood days. I remember I just talked about Ingmar Bergman. He had a magic lantern in his childhood, and he had a fascination of reflecting a painting of Venice on the wall at the age of 7, and he suddenly imagined that the painting becomes live, and every boats are there, and everybody is imagination. And Satyajit Ray, he had also a very high, very good childhood days. He had a brilliant father. He had a brilliant grandfather, Upendra Kishore Rai Chaudhuri. He was the pioneer of modern printing technology in India. And Sukumar Rai was a great poet, friend of Rabindranath Tagore. And but unfortunately, when Satyajit Babu was only 2 years old, his father died. But he groomed up with such an environment which is full of intellectual activities. He interacted with the various environments like Presidency College, like Shantiniketan Kala Bhavan, where he was trained by Nandalal Bose, Binod Bihari Mukherjee, and Ramkinkar Bej. So they were their teachers, his teachers. So he basically this film was a biography, a partial biography up to this stage, intentionally, so far as his training in Shantiniketan Kala Bhavan was concerned. And from there on, I broke the linearity in this film, and I tried to explore his intellectual and creative minds. He used through various images of visual approach as well as his musical approach. So I think it's my own realization about the images of Satyajit Ray, which I conceptualized as so far as myself is concerned. It's my conception and my feeling. It may differ, it may relate, related thing, but what I perceived, what I imagined about his images, I presented in this film with my own ideas, and I tried to make it, and hopefully some of you have already saw this film and liked it, or I don't know. That's all.
So if there is any question for Jaitim Mukherjee ji, because he has to leave, we can ask if there's any question for Mr. Mukherjee.
Sir, my name is Prabhushan Chaturvedi. People call me BBC. I met Satyajit Ray 2-3 times in Calcutta and Delhi. Bengal cinema says everything about the films. It is part of the cinema literature, every Bangla film. So how you search out the subject to make the very good film? क्योंकि सत्यजीत राय ने बहुत बढ़िया फिल्में बनाई. मैंने उनकी करीब 5-10 फिल्में देखी और मैं उनसे बहुत इम्प्रेस हुआ. मृणाल सेन की फिल्मों से भी बहुत इम्प्रेस हुआ. अपर्णा सेन की फिल्मों से भी बहुत इम्प्रेस हुआ. तो हाउ यू सर्च आउट डिग आउट द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द बंगला फिल्म?
I have a thinking. It's also my own thinking. After 1947 independence, people of our country, they were very much inspired to make a new nation. And in 1950s, the great neorealist Bengali filmmakers, everybody, they started their first films, Bengali films, in 1950s to make out different from the previous expression of cinematic language. Satyajit Ray, Ritik Ghatak, Mrinal Sen, Tapan Sinha, Tarun Majumdar, Rajen Tarafdar, and they were all, Ashit Sen. They began their journey in 1950s itself, and it was, I think, it was that force, that power they gathered from the spirit of newly born Indian independence. And Satyajit Ray, while making 1955 Pather Pachali, it pioneered in every way. Before that, Ritik Ghatak also in 1952 he tried to make he made a film on Nagorik, his first film, but it was not released. It was released after his death in 1976. And Satyajit Babu was definitely a different one, because he was trying, he was in search of making Pather Pachali while he was doing his illustrations on the book of Pather Pachali by Bibhutibhushan Bandyopadhyay, the great novelist. And he was, during the course of his illustrations, he read the book, and he conceived the idea of making this film. And he just with a lot of financial constraints and difficulties, he made that, and it got the best human document at Cannes in 1955, and the rest is history. So that is why Bengali film, journey of Bengali films in the 1950s is a very important factor in Indian cinematic history.
Hello sir, I saw your film yesterday, and I want to congratulate you that while talking on artistic personality of Ray, you rightly could pointed out the contribution of Mukherjee, his teacher in the
Binod Bihari Mukherjee, yeah.
Binod Mukherjee. So I would like to ask you that are any plans to make some film on him as well, because he is also one of the greatest artists of his time.
The last question, please.
Are there any plans of yours to make a film on him as well? Because he is also one of the greatest artists.
On his
yeah.
mentors.
Yeah.
Binod Bihari Mukherjee, Satyajit Ray himself made a documentary on Binod Bihari Mukherjee for Films Division in Arai. It was a contribution to his great guru. And there were films on Nandalal Bose also by Films Division. And I think Ram Kinkar Bej, it was made by Harisharan Dasgupta. It's the film started by Ritik Ghatak, but later on he did not continue, and the film was finished by Harisharan Dasgupta. So yes, I do make films on Indian cultures, Indian tradition, and especially on the cinematic history, where which I am very much interested. And I am just going to concentrate into my next film on Ritik Ghatak and Mrinal Sen. Mrinal is also going to celebrate his centenary year next year, and the Ritik Ghatak is after that year. So I am just concentrating on a documentary now is on Ritik Ghatak. There is no biographical documentary ever made on him, and which I would like to get your all best wishes to make a film on Ghatak. Thank you.
आपको जाना
नहीं, हम जाना है.
अब हम लोग बात करते हैं रेखा फिल्म के डायरेक्टर शेखर बापू रणखंबे जी से। जैसा पहले मैंने बताया था, ये फिल्म स्वच्छता और साथ ही जो स्वच्छता से जुड़े लोग हैं उनसे संबंधित है। तो आपको जो इसका विचार आया, उस थोड़ी सी फिल्म की पृष्ठभूमि के बारे में बताएं।
हेलो, मराठी में बात करूँगा मैं। 2010ला ह्या फिल्मचा थॉट आला होता। रस्त्यावर राहणारी जी लोक आहेत, मग स्टँडवर असतील किंवा रेल्वे स्टेशन्सवर असतील, रस्त्यावर असतील, कुठंही रस्त्यावर राहणारी जी लोक आहेत ती अस्वच्छ असतात आपल्याला आणि आपण नेहमी इग्नोर करतो। मतलब हम लोग उनको देखते हैं तो जो रोड पे रहने वाले लोग हैं तो गंदे हैं, तो हम काच बंद करते हैं या फिर इग्नोर करते हैं उनको। मग हे असं का आहे हा प्रश्न खरं तर त्यावेळेला 2010ला मला पडला होता। मधल्या काळात मी मग दुसऱ्या काही शॉर्ट फिल्म्स करत होतो आणि हे डोक्यात होतं की हे का आहे। पॅम्पलेट झाल्यानंतर म्हणजे 2018ला पॅम्पलेट केली, त्यानंतर मग असं झालं की ह्याच्यावरती आपण काहीतरी करायला पाहिजे आणि मग आम्ही त्याचा रिसर्च चालू केला। जवळजवळ 1-1.5 वर्ष त्याचा रिसर्च आम्ही करत होतो आणि रिसर्च करता करता लक्षात आलं की हे खूप भयानक गोष्ट आहे जी लोकांना आपण सांगितली पाहिजे। जे सत्य मला कळालं होतं ते आपण लोकांना सांगायला हवं आणि मग त्याचं स्क्रिप्टिंगचं काम चालू केलं। स्क्रिप्ट झाल्यानंतर आता सेकंड लॉकडाऊन ज्या वेळेला संपलं त्यावेळेला आम्ही ती फिल्म शूट करायला चालू केलं, म्हणजे त्याच्या प्रोसेस चालू केली। रवी जाधव सर, मेघना जाधव मॅडम हे दोघं निर्माते म्हणून आले आणि ह्या फिल्मच्या प्रोसेसला आम्ही चालू केलं। सगळे फिल्मचा विषय रॉ आणि असं असल्यामुळे मला शक्यतो सगळे नॉन ॲक्टर्स किंवा तशा प्रकारचेच लोक पाहिजे होती। त्यामुळे मग मी तशीच नॉन ॲक्टर्स, तसे दिसणारे, तसे डोळे असलेले, त्यांनी जे सहन केलं किंवा रस्त्यावर राहताना म्हणजे ऊन असेल, वारा असेल, पाऊस असेल, परत त्यांच्यामध्ये होणारी भांडणं असतील, त्याच्यातून खाल्लेला मार असेल, लोकांचा त्यांच्याकडे बघण्याचा दृष्टिकोन असेल, त्याच्यातनं आलेलं ते सगळं मला त्या डोळ्यामध्ये दिसावं असं मला वाटत होतं। आणि मग आम्ही तशाच अभिनेत्रींचा शोध घेतला, तशीच कास्ट आम्ही सिलेक्ट केली आणि ती फिल्म आम्ही केली। आता या फिल्ममध्ये साधारण स्वच्छतेसंदर्भात आम्ही बोलण्याचा प्रयत्न केला आहे। मग ते आपलं स्वच्छ भारत अभियान आहे, त्याचा संदर्भ त्याच्यामध्ये आहे। लेयर्स आहेत स्वच्छतेसंदर्भातली, म्हणजे माणसानं दुसऱ्या माणसाकडे कसं बघावं, त्याची नजर कशी स्वच्छ असावी या संदर्भात पण आपण बोलतो। स्त्रियांच्या फंगल इन्फेक्शन जे आहे त्या संदर्भात पण आपण फिल्ममध्ये बोलतो। तर असे लेयर्स आहेत फिल्ममध्ये जे स्वच्छतेसंदर्भातले आहेत आणि आपण त्या संदर्भात बोलतो। ही लोक अशी का आहेत किंवा साधारण स्त्रियांच्या बाबतीमध्ये ती गोष्ट आहेत, मग ती शिक्षित असेल, थोडीशी कुठंतरी स्टेबल असलेली स्त्री असेल तरी तिलाही तो प्रॉब्लेम आहेच, फक्त तिला वेगळ्या लेवलचा आहे। त्याच्यात आणखीन ग्राउंडला गेल्यानंतर ही तळागाळात असलेली जी माणसं आहेत, ह्या माणसांबद्दल आपण कधी विचार करत नाही, ह्या माणसांचा नेमका काय प्रॉब्लेम असेल। तर ती स्त्री पण या फिल्ममध्ये येते आणि ह्या दोन्ही स्त्रियांना स्तर कुठलाही असेल तर आपण एका स्वच्छ नजरेनं बघायला हवं, स्वच्छ मनानं बघायला हवं, अशा प्रकारचं आम्ही काहीतरी सांगण्याचा ह्या फिल्ममधनं प्रयत्न केलेला आहे। हो चालेल ना, प्लीज सर।
विषय खूप वेगळा निवडला आहे। तुम्ही हा विषय खूप वेगळा निवडलेला आहे. तुम्ही ते इथे आणली फिल्म हे ठीक आहे, मला बघता आली नाही, पण तुम्ही पुण्याच्या फिल्म फेस्टिवलला हे दाखवण्याचा प्रयत्न कराल का?
पुण्याच्या कुठल्या सर? पिफला सर तिथं शॉर्ट फिल्मची कॅटेगरी नाही आहे तिथं.
त्यांच्या मदतीने
हां
तुम्ही जो
काही अडचण नाही.
तुम्ही जो प्रयत्न केलाय हा विविध सामाजिक संघटनांच्या मदतीने लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचला पाहिजे.
करेक्ट आहे सर.
नुसता फिल्म फेस्टिवलमध्ये राहून ते होणार नाही.
बरोबर आहे सर.
त्यामुळे तुम्हाला ऑडियन्स मोठा पाहिजे. त्याच्याकरता तुम्ही ज्या महाराष्ट्रामधलं किमान आपण पहिल्यांदा सुरुवात करू, त्याच्या सामाजिक संघटनांना घेऊन त्याचे छोटे स्क्रीनिंग्स तुम्ही करायला
हो हो सर. जेवढं जास्त आपल्याला पोहोचवता येईल लोकांपर्यंत.
आम्ही जे प्रेस वगैरे मध्ये होतं ते आम्ही सहकार्य करून तुमचं छापू. काय हा विषय म्हणजे फिल्म फेस्टिवल इफीमध्ये आणलं हे मोठा गौरव आहे हा. पण अपार्ट फ्रॉम फिल्म फेस्टिवल्स तुम्हाला छोट्या ग्रुप्समधून ते खूप लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचावं लागेल. त्या दृष्टीने तुम्ही मूळचे कुठले आहात?
मी सांगलीच आहे. सांगली, तासगाव, पेठ.
तर तसं तुम्ही प्रयत्न करणं गरजेचं असं मला वाटतं. विषय चांगला आहे हा फार.
थँक्यू सर. थँक्यू. नाही तसे प्रयत्न आता इफीत सिलेक्शन म्हणजे इफीत स्क्रीनिंग झालं. पाठीमागे स्वराज्य महोत्सव झालेला महाराष्ट्रात, तिथं स्क्रीनिंग झालं. आता हळूहळू काही फेस्टिवल्स आहेत, काही संस्था आहेत, तर त्या हळूहळू जेवढ्या जास्त स्क्रीनिंग होतील तेवढ्या आपण करण्याचा प्रयत्न करणार आहोत सर.
शुभेच्छा तुम्हाला.
थँक्यू सर. थँक्यू.
Jacob, I would like to ask you, you have been mostly associated with commercial cinema. So how was it working for a documentary and why did you decide so?
See, I do commercial films, but these documentaries or any of these films, these are made on subjects which has inspired me, and that is the only motivation you can say, because what else, you can't even recover the money what you spend, or are there any avenues to show these films? So only thing what motivates is the subject or the personality you are following has truly inspired me. So that is one of the reason why I end up doing these documentaries. I parallelly do a lot of documentaries. Yeah.
So questions for the two directors seated here. Yeah, on the back.
नमस्कार शेखर.
नमस्कार.
मला विचारायचं आहे की मी म्हटलं नॉन ॲक्टर्सना घेऊन तुम्ही फिल्म बनवली, ती किती अवघड होतं? कारण कॅमेरासमोर एखाद्या नॉन ॲक्टरला आणणं, त्यांना ट्रेनिंग देणं,
हे खरं तर ते अवघड गोष्ट आहेच. आम्ही काही वेळ जे नाटक किंवा सिनेमा एकांकिका करणारी काही मुलं आहेत किंवा ॲक्टर आहेत ते आम्ही ट्राय केलं नाही असं नाही, आम्ही बघितलं. पण साधारण एक जी बॉडी लँग्वेज पाहिजे होती, जो रॉनेस पाहिजे होता, तर तो ॲक्टर थोडंसं ते मिळत नव्हतं. मग ते ठरवल्यासारखं ते सगळं होत होतं. आणि मुळात महत्त्वाचे डोळे होते त्यांचे. या खरे ॲक्टर घेण्यापाठीमागं ते एक कारण होतं की त्यांच्या डोळ्यांमध्ये ते सहन केलेलं ते दिसावं. आणि ते मला कुठल्याच म्हणजे आम्ही जिथं ज्यांना ट्राय केलं ते मला दिसलं नाही. आणि मग यांच्यामध्ये दिसलं. तर प्लस गोष्ट तीच होती की हे दिसायला ह्यांच्या डोळ्यामध्ये ते सगळं दुःख दिसतंय, जो त्रास ते सहन करतात त्यांना मिळत म्हणजे कशातच गंती नसल्यासारखं आहे ना, म्हणजे काहीच नाही आहे. तर त्या लोकांचं दुःख सांगण्यापेक्षा त्यांच्या डोळ्यामध्येच दिसतं आणि ते डोळे महत्त्वाचे होते. म्हणून मग ते आमचं डिसिजन होतं की हे ॲक्टर घ्यायचे. आता ह्यांना ट्रेन करायचं हा वेगळा मुद्दा होता. मुळात ह्या ज्या लीड आमचे आहेत ते बऱ्यापैकी तमाशा कलावंत आहेत आणि त्यामुळे त्यांना थोडंसं स्टेज डेअरिंगच्या बाबतीत काही प्रश्न नव्हता किंवा भीती अशी नव्हती. त्यांना फक्त कॅमेऱ्याच्या समोर, आता तमाशात वग आणि हे सगळं आहे ना, तर ते थोडंसं लाऊड असतं नाटकासारखंच. इथं ते करायचं नव्हतं. हे खूप असं खरं वाटेल असं करायचं होतं. तर त्यासाठी 2 महिने आम्ही वर्कशॉप केलं यांच्याबरोबर. म्हणजे ते थिएटर वर्कशॉप असतं तसं नाही आहे, पण मी माझ्या पद्धतीनं त्यांना मला हवं असं ह्या फिल्ममध्ये जी गरज होती तसं त्यांच्याकडनं करून घेण्यासाठी 2 महिने आम्ही त्यांच्याबरोबर राहिलो, बोललो. ते सीन्स, ते डायलॉग त्यांना पाठांतर करायला लावले, बोलायला लावले. असं करत 2-1 महिन्याचं ते आहे. तिथं लोकेशनवरती जाऊन आम्ही त्यांच्या रिहर्सल्स केल्या, जेणेकरून ते आणखीन युजफुल होतील. कारण इथं करायचं आहे, स्टँडवर फिल्म घडते सांगलीच्या, तर त्या एवढ्या सगळ्या लोकांमध्ये भिल्या पण नाही पाहिजे. कॅमेरासमोर आल्यानंतर मग कॅमेऱ्यात लुक जातोय का, तर ते व्हायचं. मग आम्ही रिहर्सल करतानाच, त्यांचं वर्कशॉप करतानाच कॅमेरा होता की कॅमेऱ्यात बघायचं नाही, तुम्ही कोणाशी बोला फक्त कॅमेऱ्यात बघायचं नाही. आणि मग ते तसं करून करून त्यांचं ते पण काढलं की काही झालं तर कॅमेऱ्यात बघायचं नाही आहे. तर असा ह्या प्रोसेसला आम्हाला 2 महिने लागले आणि ते सगळं आहे. मग आता फिल्म आली आहे IFFI. थँक्यू. हां सर.
रस्त्यावर प्रत्यक्ष जीवन जगलेल्या काही माणसाचा यामध्ये तुम्ही समावेश करून घेतलाय का फिल्ममध्ये? म्हणजे ज्याने प्रत्यक्ष ते जीवन जगलं आहे रस्त्यावर असे लोक
म्हणजे फिल्ममध्ये नाही आहे. म्हणजे आता स्टँडमध्ये शूट करत असताना मागं कुठं तर एखादं दिसत असेल, स्टँडवरती असतात ना, तरच, बाकी मग नाही आहे.
तसं शक्य नव्हतं का? म्हणजे प्रत्यक्ष एक दोन अशी माणसं की जी प्रत्यक्ष रस्त्यावर होती, ते जीवन जगलेली, त्यांना घेऊन करणं शक्य नव्हतं का तुम्हाला? तसा विचार कधी आला नाही का?
शक्य झालं असतं सर. जर आता आम्हाला जर आत्ता जी कास्ट आहे ती जर नसती तर मग मी तिथंपर्यंत पण पोचलो असतो आणि त्यांनाही मी ट्रेन करून ते सगळं म्हणजे फिल्ममध्ये त्यांनाही आणलं असतं आणि त्यांच्याकडनं काम करून घेतलं असतं, काही अडचण होत. पण मी इथं मला मिळाले त्यामुळे मी तिथंपर्यंत नाही गेलो. पण त्यांचा आता मला काय होतं की फक्त म्हणजे ॲक्टर असेच पाहिजेत किंवा ते रिअल पाहिजेत किंवा थिएटरचे पाहिजेत असं काही तसं हे नव्हतं. फक्त ती एक गरज होती, म्हणून विषय पोचवण्यासाठी एक गरज होती आणि मग त्यामुळं ती सगळी आमची चॉईस तशी झाली.
My question is to Mr. Jacob Varghese. I'm Suhas from Bangalore. So I watched both your Kannada movies, both the Kannada movies you made, Prithvi as well as Chambal. Did you want to be an IAS officer? And I mean, why do you choose movies which are based on IAS officers' lives and such? And like, do you have something in the pipeline also?
I've been inspired by or the ideal society you want to see, which we our inability to voice over it are often made into films. So you can say that IAS officers are an integral part or bureaucracy. So and I was very fascinated, you can say. It's not that I wanted to be an IAS officer, but the kind of difficulties and when you are upright and you want to start, when you want to stand for certain beliefs, there are challenges, and more often it gets suppressed as by the bureaucracy and things like that. So how what are the difficulties an honest officer encounters? It's always been a fascination. That's the reason why I make.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, your film was shot over a period of 6 years.
Yeah.
And the uncertainties about a HIV patient.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with that? Was it challenging?
Yeah. So, there are diseases like HIV, leprosy. We hardly have any information about these diseases. So there is when lack of information is what causes stigma or discrimination in the society, because we are being fed with a lot of false informations, like when you touch a HIV patient immediately you contract disease or these kind of things. So what happens is this misinformation is what promotes a lot of stigma and discrimination. So for me it was when I met these kids and when I knew that they were born HIV for no fault of theirs, a big question was like, how are they going to lead their lives? Are they going to be alive for how long? Maybe 10 years, 20 years. We really don't have answers for all this. So for me it was, I'm really happy and glad that they opened out their lives to me to document their lives. And I wanted to maybe shoot them for a year and get a glimpse of their lives and make it into a film. But then as I started going with the flow, I started growing with these kids, you can say, because these kids were 12 years, and that 12 to 20 is a very strange time for any growing up children, because a lot of transformation in terms of biological, in terms of psychological, a lot of changes keeps happening. Then for them also they are encountering this this big bad world. So the challenges they come across. So I didn't want to stop the film there. So I continued. The kids are about 20 or 21 now. They are, fit and fine. So for me it was motivating that, instead of complaining about shortfalls and shortcomings, they've taken up sports and, overcoming these big challenges of their lives. It's a big inspiration, for me at least. So that is one of the reasons kept me going. Yeah.
They have a lot of community programs and all. In spite of that, all these take part in sports and all that. Can you just put some light on these HIV patients? They have a lot of immunity problems, health problems. So in spite of that, how they take part in this, sports and all that, running and all that? Can you just shed some light on that?
Yeah, so this HIV, we have medicine now, which can prolong life. Immunity is a big challenge, and earlier they had to pop two pills a day, that's morning and evening, 1 pill each, but now it has come to 1 pill a day. But besides this, it is mostly to do with psychological side of it. Like, stamina is one side, but psychological things what affects them more, because, there are situations when their own families send them out. This one particular kid, when he was about 3, one of his own relative came and dropped the child in front of this orphanage and, told that I found him in a dustbin. So these are things which these kids grow up with. So the psychological side of it is very, very demanding, to accept the fact that, and move on. So the stamina side of it, sports is greatly helped them in terms of the right nutrition, right workout, is greatly helped them to counter this disease, you can say. And it's not only them, they are living in an orphanage with 120 kids. So there are new admissions which are coming, which are about 2 years, 3 years. See, for them, these people become the role model. See, when these were the first batch. So these kids were the first batch when they were 13. So they don't know how to look forward, what to look forward in life. But when these new kids, they have already a role model. These guys are like, I'm 20, I'm okay, I'm doing okay. So there's nothing to worry. That gives a sort of inspiration to the next batch of kids, So it is a good, well-oiled cycle, you can say. Yeah.
Deep.
Yeah, my question is to Jacob Verghese. You said that you have been telling the stories of the difficulties faced by IAS officers, right?
IAS.
Yeah. So yes, it's indeed they make a lot of contribution to the nation. At the same time, I hope I wanted to know whether you also talk about the difficulties caused by IAS officers.
Difficulties caused by the IAS officers?
Yeah, do you think that all IAS officers contribute only face difficulties, but all of us cause difficulties to each other, right? It's not only specifically about IAS officers.
No, but IAS officers, you take a district collector or, he's mostly in charge of a particular region, and, he has control, command to change things to a great extent. So unless and until, he buckles up to political pressure or a lot of other, bureaucratic pressures, he has a great room to transform so many things, you can say. So that, the hurdles he faces is what I feel is a challenge.
Yeah, I'm asking, aren't you interested on the other side of the things also? Because even when you say political pressure, politicians can, why do we say only political pressure? What politicians want might be good, right? And the bureaucracy might be standing in the way of it.
I don't know.
Have some other question, please? Any other question?
No, rightly said, but you're talking about the IAS officers who have a gray shade, or what is it?
No, you are talking about IAS officers in general. I'm also talking about IAS officers in general.
Yeah. So these are they have great power to change things. And the pressure is, mostly to do with their internal pressure. It is nothing like, external pressure, right? So, though,
The pressure is whether it's internal or external. No.
We can have some other question, please.
yeah.
At the back, Bharti.
माझा प्रश्न मराठी दिग्दर्शकांना आहे. मला विचारायचं आहे की रस्त्यावरच्या लोकांचं आयुष्य पडद्यावर दाखवताना जरी तुम्ही रिसर्च करून अनेक हे काढले होते तरी काय चॅलेंजेस आले? कारण आपल्याला लांबून बघून त्याची माहिती असते, पण काही गोष्टी सबकॉन्शियसमध्ये गेल्याशिवाय पडद्यावर दाखवता येत नाहीत तेवढ्या सक्सेसफुली. मला वाटतं तुमच्या चित्रपटातनं ते खूप स्ट्रॉंगली आलंय पुढे की तिची मेंटॅलिटी किंवा आजूबाजूच्या लोकांची मेंटॅलिटी. तर काय चॅलेंजेस आले आणि तुम्ही त्यात कसा मार्ग काढला त्याच्यातून?
एक तर कास्टला घेऊनच खरं तर मोठं चॅलेंज होतं की तसं खरं वाटावं आणि ते जोपर्यंत खरं वाटणार नाही तोपर्यंत ते पोचणार नाही. त्यामुळे सगळ्यात मोठं चॅलेंज कास्टचं होतं आणि लॉकडाऊनचं होतं खरं तर. लॉकडाऊन नुसतंच संपलं होतं आणि आम्हाला कमी लोकांमध्ये ते शूट करायचं होतं आणि ते आम्ही शूट केलं. तर ह्याच्यापेक्षा दुसरं असं काही चॅलेंजेस असं काही खरं तर नव्हती. म्हणजे ह्यांना ट्रेन करणं, एकतर ती कास्ट करणं आणि ह्यांना ट्रेन करणं हेच मला वाटतं मोठं चॅलेंज होतं ही फिल्म करताना. आणि बाकी हां सर हां आणि बाकी रिसर्च संदर्भात म्हणाल तर जे काही मला कळालं त्या म्हणजे रिसर्च दरम्यान तर ते शॉकिंग होतं की ते आपण किती वरवरचं बघत असतो आणि आपल्याला माहीत नसतं की ही म्हणजे लोक किती सहन करतात इथं. ज्यांना म्हणजे साधं आंघोळ करायचं सुद्धा जर स्वातंत्र्य नसेल तर मग काय करायचं. खूप वाईट अवस्था आहे. आपण इग्नोर करतो ते सगळं. तर ते खूप दुःखदायक होतं खरं तर माझ्यासाठी. खूप हार्ड हिटिंग होतं ते आणि ते तेवढंच मग तेच तसंच्या तसं आम्ही आणण्याचा प्रयत्न केला आहे फिल्ममध्ये. थँक्यू.
My question is for Mr. Jacob Varghese. You work in Kannada film industry.
That's right, yeah.
Basically. And your work also in commercial space also.
Yeah, the commercial films are basically in Kannada.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you have handled a very different subject.
Yeah.
HIV positive does not mean AIDS patient.
Yeah.
And I mean, you must be remembering an old film, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks. Now that is different thing.
Yeah.
But do you have any plan to bring this subject to commercial cinema, commercial film? Why am I asking it? Because that way you can reach to more people, more larger audience.
True. I don't have plans right now, but rightly, you said films like Philadelphia with Denzel Washington, right? Yeah. So, commercial films reach out to a larger audience. The reach is wide. Hence, the message you want to send across definitely reaches out to a larger audience. But I don't know. I mean, for me, it was real. So I wanted to, get the real facts. That is the only reason why I made this documentary. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else asking? Yes, Deep.
Yeah, my question is again to Jacob Varghese. In fact, both of you can answer. So you had said that misinformation causes a lot of problems, and that we need to get the correct information to people in order to avoid those problems, right? But don't you think that information also, the right information also causes problems? For instance, if I cannot afford anything, and like let us say I am a daily wage laborer, okay, and I am being given information that this beautiful film festival is happening here, and I don't have any means to come here, then knowing about this film festival, the more and more I know about it, probably my agony will go on increasing and increasing. I might even become, I might turn violent also if things get really bad. The more I get to know about the beauty of the film festival, the more of my animal instincts might tend to get triggered, right, resulting in even social tensions. So, don't you think this is also something which we need to consider? My question is to both of you.
Sir. So, I mean, I don't know about, what context this film festival information is going to create any trouble.
No. That
Yeah,
is just
it's a
that is just stretch the argument.
yes,
but
yes.
that agony is there. That agony is there. There is no doubt about it.
But the thing is, like, for instance, things like HIV, things like leprosy. See, we all grow. See, for instance, when I was from the time when I was a little kid, I have seen this people who are affected with leprosy always begging. So now the thing is, we have been made to believe, like, even to give them some money, you have to give it at a distance. The minute you touch them, you're going to get this disease. That's a misinformation what you have. But the actual fact is this virus is already in the air and it can sustain for 7 days. So irrespective of whether you are there, you touch him, touch not, 7 days you pass there, unless and until your immunity is not strong, you're bound to get that. So these are informations which, so I'm talking about these kind of information, yes.
Yeah, so I'm asking whether when we make a blanket statement that misinformation creates problems and information solves them, we are actually only looking at only one side of the issue, right?
No, it's not that. See, for instance, even HIV for that matter, most of the stigma is a result of misinformation, is what I believe. You are made to believe, like, you sit in the same table and share a meal with them. Why don't people do that? Because of the misinformation,
So we can have this. Yeah,
it's about the right information, is what I.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Shakuntala for All India Radio. Sir Ranakhambeji, I would love to appreciate and congratulate you for the Rekha. I'm a witness for that movie, and wonderful movie, and I'm so happy to see the artist. Please stand up.
Thank
and you have to clap these two ladies because they have done the wonderful job. The people coming on Bombay, you must have seen the ladies who comes near the car to sell, and the problems what they are going through, and they are coming from the same type of society, and he has picked them up from the village, and the beautiful movie is made. It is such a beautiful and easygoing movie. I really felt that this is India, and we have to depict the India and Indian culture. So I'm really happy to see this movie. I want to speak. I want to know from you that how you thought of this idea, because we the human being, we always think of our society and how to develop our own things. The women, what they face with their men, and how they do their day-to-day life is amazing idea what you have been coming from the middle class society. I just want to know from you how this idea came to you and how you prepare these people from the village. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, ma'am. हम सबको ये लोग मराठी में बात करतो. आपल्याला ही सगळी लोक रस्त्यावरती इकडे तिकडे दिसतात, पण आपण सगळेच इग्नोर करतो, आणि मी त्यांना इग्नोर नाही केलं, आणि मी म्हटलं हे काय असं बघावं, त्याचा शोध घ्यावा. आणि जर 2 किंवा 3 दिवस माणसाने आंघोळ नाही केली तरी पण आपल्या अंगाचा वास यायला लागतो. स्त्रियांच्या बाबतीत विचार केला तर ते अजूनच जास्त, म्हणजे त्यांच्या मासिक पाळी असेल आणि ते जर स्वच्छता व्यवस्थित नाही झाली तर मग काय होत असेल. उन्हाळ्यात तर अजून जास्त होतं की 2, 3, 4 दिवस जर नाही आंघोळ केली किंवा नुसतं धुळीतनं जरी आपण गेलो तरी पण संध्याकाळी असं डोकं नुसतं असं खाजवलं तर नकात आपल्या माती येते. तर ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी आपल्या बाबतीत होत आहेत. मग जी लोक महिना 2 महिना किंवा आपल्याला कधीच स्वच्छ दिसत नाहीत त्यांचं काय होत असेल. मग त्याच्यात परत स्त्रियांचं काय होत असेल. म्हणजे परत मासिक पाळी आली, मग ती महिन्याला परत येणार आहे, मग ती जर अस्वच्छता असेल तर काय होत असेल त्यांचं. तर ही गोष्ट मला खूप त्रास देणारी गोष्ट होती. मी तो विचार केल्यानंतर आणि मग म्हटलं की याच्यावरती आपण बघितलं पाहिजे काय आहे, काय कारण आहे त्यांची. असं का राहतात. तर ते कारण मग शोधल्यानंतर ते खूप भयानक कारण होतं आणि मग ते मला वाटलं की हे आपण आणलं पाहिजे फिल्ममध्ये आणि मग ते स्क्रिप्ट केलं आणि रेखा तयार झाली. थँक्यू थँक्यू. हाँ आप पूछिए अगर पूछना है.
आप लोग माया बताना चाहोगे क्या? उनका पहली बार.
हाँ हाँ
हिंदी या कौन
नहीं
सा?
मराठी
मराठी बोलो, मराठी बोलो.
हाँ तुला
सामने देखो. इधर आ जाओ, इधर आके बोलो.
क्या पूछना है पूछिए. मैं ओके हाँ. माया पवार मायाची ही पहिलीच फिल्म आहे आणि तिनं खूप मेहनत केली आहे आणि खूप चांगलं काम केलं आहे. माया तुला कसं वाटतंय आता इथं येऊन?
मला खूप भारी वाटतं इथं आल्यावर आणि माझी फिल्म बघताना मला वाटलं की मी एक काम केलं का नाही वाटलं असं.
ओके उसको लगा कि ये फिल्म में अच्छा लगा काम करके, तो ये फिल्म में मैंने काम किया, मतलब मैं ही हूँ क्या, ऐसे उसको लगा देख के फिल्म. मतलब
She couldn't recognize she's the one.
आणि और क्या
बाद में how her life has changed. Life में क्या change?
हां फिल्म आता पहिल्यांदाच आपण फिल्ममध्ये काम केलेस आणि 1-2 महिने आपण रिहर्सल्स केल्या, प्रॅक्टिस केलं त्यावेळेचं आणि आता इथं येऊन फरक वाटतोय का? काय आयुष्यात आपल्या काय काय फरक झाला तुझ्या? म्हणजे जसं लोक येतात भेटतात तर तो सगळा काय फरक आहे जरा एक वेळ सांग. म्हणजे त्याच्या अगोदर कोण येत होतं का आणि आत्ता कसं हा तो फरक थोडा
याच्या आधी तर आम्हाला
माहीत आहे.
हॅलो याच्या आधी तर आम्हाला कोणीच भेटायला येऊ शकत नव्हतं आणि ज्यावेळेस मी पिक्चर काढला ना त्यावेळेस मला बरेच लोकांनी सत्कार केला आहे आणि बरेच लोक मला भेटायसुद्धा यायला लागले.
अच्छा इसके पहले कोई लोग उन्हें मिलने नहीं आते थे, तो अभी जैसे ये फिल्म का हुआ तब से प्रेस और बहुत सारे लोग आए मिले और उनका सत्कार वगैरह हुआ है तो उनको अच्छा लग रहा है अभी.
We should clap for her.
चलते. थैंक यू माया, थैंक यू तमीना. अब ये बोलता या तमीना सेकंड लीड आहे त्या फिल्ममध्ये आणि तिची मोठी बहीण आहे, मायाची मोठी बहीण आहे तमीना. तमीना इथं आल्यावर कसं वाटतंय?
छान वाटतं.
छान वाटतंय ना. बरं हे आपल्या आयुष्यात काहीतरी होईल म्हणजे आपण रेग्युलर आपलं आयुष्य चाललंय ते चाललंच होतं आणि आपण रोज फेस करत होतो आपल्या आयुष्यात ज्या गोष्टी येत आहेत त्या, आणि आता इथं आल्यानंतर कसं वाटतंय?
आणि लई छान वाटतंय म्हणजे जास्तच भारी वाटतंय.
अच्छा. वो बोल रही कि मैंने पूछा कि अभी यहाँ पे आके कैसे लग रहा है. वो एक्चुअली दोनों जो महाराष्ट्र में तमाशा करके जो फॉर्म है उसमें वो लावनी करते हैं माया और तमीना. तो ये फॉर्मेट में उन्होंने काम नहीं किया था फिल्म में, तो वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा और यहाँ का बहुत डिफरेंस है ना, तो उनको लग रहा है कि अच्छा लग रहा है. वहाँ पे बहुत सारे प्रेस में भी हुआ तो उनको वो सारा चीज़ अच्छा लग रहा है. थँक्यू तमीना, थँक्यू. खूप सुंदर काम केले, भारी काम केले सगळ्यांनी. आणि वो यहाँ पे बैठी टीम भी है हमारी सारी. हाँ ये जो 3 रॉ है 4 रॉ वो सब हमारी टीम ये रेखा की. तो थैंक यू.
So if, yeah,
sir.
Mike. Baba, Mike. Baba.
केलं होतं असं तुम्ही म्हटलं होता तर तमाशात काय काम करत होत्या त्या
तमाशात सर डान्स करत होता, लावणी आणि बॅकग्राऊंड डान्स वगैरे
आणि
असं.
गाणं म्हणणं
नाही नाही, डान्स करणं लावणीवरती किंवा एखाद्या गाण्यांवरती डान्स करणं. हां.
Do we have any other questions to the two directors? So now we'll wind up this session. Thank you so much, Mr. Varghese.
Yes, pleasure.
Thank you, Shekhar.
थँक्यू मॅम.
And all the best.
थँक्यू.
Thank you.
थँक्यू.